I have signed myself up to go try some adaptive e-bikes, e-mountain bikes. I was on YouTube last night because obviously I had to look into it and hyperfixate on all of it. So I YouTubed a bunch of the videos, and if any other influencers, any other, as if I'm an influencer, no, if anyone else had I think it's called the Bowhead Rogue. When I was watching the YouTube videos, I noticed a bunch of them who are A, ripped, and B, that are doing crazy trails, like ramps, and on mountain bike trails where they turn and you go up a wall as if and you're on a water slide. Yeah, I will not be doing that today. My friend Cam is coming with me today. I have 2 GoPros that I am going to have either on my bike or on her bike, and then I actually got one of my neighbors to lend me their chest harness that's a GoPro, so either Cam's gonna wear it so then she can video me. The Rogue bike is the one that you sit down in with your legs strapped in and then you pedal with your arms. I don't know if you see, but I don't have anything there. Thank God it's e-assist, because I would just be flat the whole time for the whole 2 hours. They are bringing extra 2-wheel bikes for companions that are coming along today, so she will actually be with me riding along. But I'm so excited. Come along, divas, and either watch me die or have fun. One or the other. I have been looking forward to this day since the day that I saw that Rad had posted a poster about it on Instagram. I knew it was quite a bit away from my house. It's about a 2-hour drive from my house, but I knew I wanted to try mountain biking. Trialing it and just playing with some new toys was really awesome, and also being with like-minded people. When I first got to the mountain, I saw a big tent set up and I saw a bunch of people in wheelchairs, and I said, those are my people. And I got my GoPro set up. My friend Cam that came with me, she had a chest GoPro on, and then I had a GoPro on my helmet. I will say though, the GoPro that's on my helmet is from 11 years ago, so the footage isn't as great as the chest GoPro, so mind your business if it's not 4K or an HD. So we walked up to the tent and was just honestly kind of just standing around watching everyone, and it wasn't until someone came up to me and said, hey, what's your name? Because when I signed up for the trial day, it asked for which time that you wanted, and I knew that I was driving in for that day, so I wanted a later time. So I got there around 1:30 and I said, hey, I'm Mason, my time slot is at 2:30, but I thought I'd come early just to kind of get situated. And she said, yeah, that's totally great. So she kind of looked around and said, okay, what bike do you want to try? And I said, can I try all of them? She said, yeah, you can. So the first bike I tried was a bike that was an e-bike, but it was a bike that I had to pedal with my arms. That was really cool to have my arms pedal instead of my legs, because I think it's just kind of the saying is, it's like riding a bike, right? It's just autopilot. When I sat down and my legs were strapped in, I kind of thought, oh yeah, I'm not pedaling with my legs, I'm pedaling with my arms. I brought my active hands, my brace that I use in Pilates, and I used that on my left side, and then on the right side I was able just to hold on to it like the average person. Bike's really hardcore, and the suspension on it is really cool. It's clearly made for hardcore people. So I got in and I put my active hands on, I strapped into the handlebar. Before we went out on a trail, they asked, okay, do a lap around the parking lot to make sure that you're comfortable. I did a lap around the parking lot and I said, yeah, this feels pretty good. Off to the trail we went, and by the time I got to the trail, which was only about the distance of half the parking lot, my fingers on my left hand started to feel like they were going to sleep, they were feeling kind of fuzzy and numb. So I immediately stopped. When you're doing your practice run around the parking lot, there are PTs with you. And you know how I said when we first got to the tent, there were a bunch of people. A bunch of those people were volunteer PTs, volunteer OTs. So when I did my trail run around the parking lot, I had a PT on both sides, you know, kind of just making sure I was okay. They were just running beside me. And then when I got to the trail, or actually 2 PTs were on a bike, and then one person was kind of running beside me, like just in case they had to kind of take control. When I got to the very start of the trail, I said, "Ooh, my fingers are feeling a little like they're falling asleep." He stopped and the PT said, "Okay, what can we do? Like what's happening? Like what is the pressure that you're feeling?" The handlebar, you hold it like this, but between your fingers there was a bar there and my fingers were rubbing up against it. So we went back to the tent and they put some, I don't even know what it's called. It's like stretchy tape, I guess, the stuff that like clings to itself. Cling wrap? No, that's for food. I'll just call it physio tape. It's squishy, so they put the stuff around the bar to make sure that it was kind of like a little bit more cushioned. Tried that. I put my active hand on. I was like, you know what, let's try without the active hands and just have my hands on there and the squishy tape for the cushion. And I said, how about we take the physio tape and tether your hand to the bar? I said, okay, yeah, that's actually a good idea. It won't feel as secure, but it's also still better than nothing. So I tried that and it worked, and we were back on the trail. We're at the very top of the mountain and the view is beautiful there, so we stopped to take a selfie. Obviously we just kept going. I will say that this is a workout. It's your arms pedaling. I only have the strength of my one arm because my left arm is still quite hemiplegic. I was using all the strength in one arm to push myself and the bike uphill, and I was not ready for that. Now I can see why the people that I was watching YouTubes before this event were ripped. So we did a lap around that. That was really fun. Came back. The bike that I wanted to try next was in use by another user. So it took a while, which, I mean, whatever. I sat down and kind of took a break because, yeah, I was a little tired. And we just sat there for a bit, talked to some PT. Bike came back, and I actually was looking at another bike. And this is the bike that I sit down. I kind of like sit down in a very weird position. Like I'm kind of like up on my knees, but my butt's supported, so I'm kind of like up on my arms. So like let's try that bike. You know, I wasn't signed up to try that bike, but like, can I try it? He said, yeah, go ahead. So I tried that bike, and that was really cool. I think my brain just immediately went to like, this is wild that people think of this stuff and people use it, and how cool is that there are things out here for people with disabilities, and it just opens the world up way more for us. So I just was amazed by it. I tried that. We went around again. The battery was dying though, so it wasn't going as fast, and I do have a need for speed. So we were gonna go do the trail, but noticed that the battery's dying, so we went back, said, oh, the battery's dying. They said, no, it always says that. I said, okay, weird. And then by that time that I came back from that half trail ride, the other guy was back with the bike that I originally wanted to try. I got out of the bike that we all said it was like the Batmobile bike, because if you remember like in Batman how he's like driving his car and then he like switches out to his motorbike, like that's kind of like what it felt like. After I was done with that bike, I got into the other bike. I just sat in it, or with the trigger, you just go. Like when I was getting out of the Batmobile bike, I noticed that the trigger was on the left side on this fully e-assist bike, and I said, oh, is there any way that we can switch the trigger from the left side of the handlebar to the right side of the handlebar? Guy with a bunch of tools, he was like, yeah, I can do that. I took apart the handlebar and basically took the trigger that was on the left side and moved it all the way over to the right side. As I was looking at the bike, I noticed that the wires were really long, so maybe they made the bikes like that so it was easy to make the bike a little bit more accessible for literally anyone. But maybe that's just me projecting, hoping that they did that. Anyways, we're gonna give them credit that they did that. I took that bike out. We actually did a longer trail with that bike because it was full e-assist and I didn't have to use my weak little arms that I have. So we did a bigger trip around the mountain. I didn't get any footage of that because my GoPro did lose a lot of storage from my SD card, just because I was filming constantly all day. Now I know for next year that I'll just record when we're actually on the bikes. The company that I heard it through was Rad Rentals, which is Recreational Adaptive Devices, and it's a company that has all this adaptive gear for rental. That company was there, and then Bowhead Corp was there. They are the people that actually make the bikes. I highly recommend you go to their website and check it out because they have so much there and they are so extreme and so hardcore, and I don't think I was even qualified enough to sit in one of their bikes. It was so cool. So Bowhead Corp is a really great company. I think his name was Corey that I was talking to. All I know is that his dog name was Titus and he was a little staffy terrier. I am just so thankful for all those companies that pitched in to help with the day being so successful yesterday. I also know that there was a local bike shop that donated 2-wheeled e-bikes for our companions to come and ride with us. They also donated helmets for the day for us to use because obviously I don't have a helmet for myself. Thank you so much to all the companies, all the PTs, all the volunteers that came out and helped all the other people. It was such a magical day. This is something that I'm going to remember for the rest of my life. Anyway, divas, I hope you enjoyed this video. It taught you something. Maybe you'll be interested in trying a bike now, but it's worth it. Now going to look at buying a trike, and you'll see me on the road soon. So don't run me over with your car. See you later, divas.